What's up, everybody?
Hey guys,
It's Sunday.
happy Sunday.
That means it's time for Inside the Relationship.
hmm
Um, we're gonna have this is gonna be a good conversation, I think, today.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
And listen, if you haven't seen any have a conversation after dark, you need to go to the YouTube channel and check that out.
Yeah, last night's was pretty hot.
Last
Still on the
night's
fence about that topic.
last
No, I'm not.
night's was interesting.
I'm not on the fence. Let me get in this shot a
Oh,
little better.
trying to get in more. So, um, have a conversation after dark, which I don't think I have anything up for that. Let me see. Let me see if I can put something up for it real quick. If you haven't seen that, you need to see that. All right. So listen, here we go. We're going to get into this today. We got a couple things we want to talk about. Um, we're going to so for I'm gonna say this in front of you. Oh no, I'll say it in a second. 1 second. Forget about what I said. So here's the thing. Let's get into this. We got folk in the comments already. Okay.
Stay on the fence. I
Okay.
don't know, Paul. I don't know. I
Not
don't
as
know.
not as good as last night. Last night was good. Last night was
Last night
good.
was good.
Tabby, what's up, Tabby?
Hi,
Tabby's in the
Tabs.
house. Uh Paul says stay on the
Yeah,
fence. Last night was fire. Yeah. So listen, you see the comments. So if you don't know what we're talking about, you got to go to the YouTube channel
yeah, it was
and
good.
look at the latest Have a Conversation After Dark.
After dark.
So listen, here we're gonna get it. We're gonna get into this real quick. We're talking about a couple things today. Some of them including finances. Who's responsible for the finances? We're talking about the advantage or disadvantage of living together before you get married. Right.
Mm-hmm.
We got all of that coming up and more. And so we're glad to have you today because we have all of that coming up and more on this episode of
Inside the relationship.
Let's Go. Let's not go there. Let's go here.
Let's go.
You're watching Inside the Relationship with Denise and Ollie.
So sit back, relax, and let's talk about all things relationships. All right.
What's up, everybody?
Listen, here we go. Right. So
Happy Sunday.
you know what I noticed happened this week that happened today that happened last night as well. Like a lot, like people jumped in real fast in the beginning and then jumped right back out. That's okay.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's okay.
I just happened to be looking at the numbers and saw, but we got who we need to have for right now. Listen, thank you for joining us for another Inside the Relationship. Last week we were not here because last Sunday we were celebrating the Queen's birthday. It was her birthday last
Is
week.
that what they do? Like this?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want to do because you're the queen. So, did you have a great birthday?
I did. It
Okay.
was everything that I wanted. It was great.
Okay.
It was great. I
I'm
have a great family.
I'm glad.
Thankfully, I'm really glad.
I'm glad that you
Grateful to
enjoyed it.
God.
I'm glad that you enjoyed it. So listen, here's the thing. I kind of want to get right into this. And I didn't bring my phone down. Let me see if I can pull it up on the computer because I want to play this. And
Gonna be able to
you
hear
know
it.
what? Never mind. I'm
Yeah.
not going to play it. Happy birthday, Queen from Tabby.
Thanks, Tabs.
I want to get into this media mix down. It is I wish I had my phone because I really want to play the audio for it, but that's okay.
Just talk about it.
So in the media mix down, right? This is going to be an interesting one.
Oh,
And
thank you, Tabby.
yes, thank you so much for that. This is going to be an interesting one. So listen, let's instead of doing some preliminary talking, let's just go right into that, okay?
Okay.
Cool with that? All right,
Okay.
here we go. All right. So for this week's media mixdown, there is a clip that I posted on TikTok that is getting a lot of traction and a lot of comments. And
Because.
it is a clip of a guy
Mm-hmm.
who was saying that it is man law
Mm-hmm.
that the man pay the mortgage or the rent. That the woman should not pay the mortgage or the rent. It is man law. Those are the exact words to use. It is man law that you should pay the mortgage or the rent. And then he went on to say that the argument that some men will give back to him is that the woman should be bringing something to the table. And he's like, yeah, the woman should be bringing something to the table, but the woman should not have to bring anything to the table as it relates to finances.
But
Hold on. Let me give you the whole thing.
okay.
Then he says that yeah, you can have her pay the utilities and chip in on some stuff like that, but the mortgage and the rent, man law, should be paid by the man. And he thickened the pot even more by saying that when you require a woman to do those kinds of things, you're essentially saying to her that she needs to hold up some level of masculinity while we're asking her to be feminine.
When you're telling her what? Well, I don't understand the last part. When you do what?
When if I have you pay the mortgage or the rent,
You're telling her to uphold some form of
right,
masculinity.
right. I'm actually saying to you that you need to uphold some form of masculinity when we should be wanting you to be feminine.
And is that his reasoning for saying that men should pay the mortgage or rent?
That well, I don't know if that's his reason, but that's just what he went on to say about it.
Because
So let me hold on.
Yeah,
Hold on. I don't know if people
It
can hear
had to be said.
I don't know if people can hear that or not, but let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it.
Well, I mean, we can just talk about it, but I guess I don't understand. Okay, maybe he's thinking, priest of the home, keeping a roof over our head. Maybe that's why. I would need to know his reasoning, because I'm thinking it's another bill. It's fine. How do you split your finances? Do you split your finances? Like, I mean, I guess if that's what you agree to, then that's what you agree to in your relationship. But I don't think that if it just so happens that the wife, I don't know, because we just split the finances. We just
Yeah,
it's
well,
all.
listen,
I don't know.
I definitely don't agree.
I don't agree with it
I can tell
because
you that I definitely don't agree. So
in a position or
let me
in
see
a
if people
business.
can hear this or not. First Thessalonians.
If you
Do
got
you
a wife,
agree or
bro,
disagree?
like it's man
Let me know
code,
if you
it's
can hear
man
this,
law.
folks.
You should be paying that mortgage. Pay the mortgage. You can let her pay the utility, a little there, but pay the mortgage, bare minimum at least. You know what I'm saying? Because this is your
Man law shit right there.
That's man law shit. Man law number one, bro. Pay the rent, pay the mortgage. And they always be like, yo, but she got to come to the table. And she don't got to bring to the table when it comes to financially. Let me put this in perspective.
Hear it or not?
If you require your woman to bring financial asset or gain to the table, you're telling her that, and she works in a corporate arena or in a position or in a business where it requires her to be masculine, you're asking her to maintain a level of masculinity throughout your relationship while also saying that I want you to be feminine.
I don't understand
You don't-
his reasoning.
So I just wanted to put it out there. Is that what is, for those who are in the comments, what is the
Tabby said they can hear it. Cool.
what happens in your house? And do you think that if I'm if I need the woman to pay something, that I'm asking her to hold up a level of masculinity that she shouldn't have to hold up in the home?
So what happens if, per se, God forbid, but what happens if the man gets laid off and the woman is able to pay the mortgage? Should she not? Or should she put it in his bank account? I don't know. It
So-
just doesn't make sense to me.
So to be fair, this is a clip of a podcast. So there's way more in the conversation. But that's the piece I pulled out. and on TikTok, the comments are all over the place.
So why do you disagree?
Um, I disagree because I don't believe that one, the masculinity thing I don't agree with.
Yeah, me either.
But on the financial side of things, we have to have a conversation. I'm not saying that the man shouldn't pay the mortgage. If that's how you have established things to
That's what I
happen in
said.
your home, then
Exactly.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But I think that has to be established, and I don't think that it's man law
Right. Correct. I agree.
that the husband should do that. I think that it is a conversation that you guys have to have
Mhm.
because there's nuances to it, right? Let's say, for example, and I know a couple like this where the wife is an executive making executive kind of money.
Mhm.
The husband is not an executive making not executive kind of money.
And that doesn't mean, and that's the other thing too, what he was saying about the whole masculinity thing. Just because that is the wife's position
Mhm.
or any woman's position, I kind of see what he was trying to say, but that's not her displaying any form of masculinity. Leadership, yes, because of her position, but not masculinity.
Yeah, the masculinity piece I'm throwing out the window. I don't care nothing about that. That don't make sense to me. The thing that I want to know from those of you that are in the comments right now, and those of you who may be watching by the replay, what do you think? Is that man law? Should a man be responsible for the mortgage, for the major bills, for the major things that undergird the household? Should the man be responsible for that, or can it be a team effort?
I think it should be a team. Again, every couple is different, and I think every couple would have to talk about and come to an agreement as to however they're going to handle the finances. That's what I think.
Okay.
I know that for us, it's a team effort. This is my
For us, it
paycheck.
is a team effort.
This is your paycheck. This is going to that. This is going to that. We'll divvy it up how it needs to be divvied up for everything to get paid.
So let's be honest, because people who know us know that we're honest and we're transparent.
Mhm.
Okay. Don't stay with me. Stay with me. We have to use the team approach
Why?
because we don't have enough. Like one person alone can't do all of it.
Okay.
So I couldn't say to you, even if it was vice versa, you couldn't say to me, hey, you got to pay all the bills because I can't pay all the bills without your assistance. And you can't pay all the bills without my assistance. Let's just keep it a buck. We're going to keep it a buck. What about, and the reason why I'm saying that is, what about in instances where, let's say, for example, I was consistently bringing in six figures every month.
Mm-hmm.
And you were bringing in whatever. Just say you were bringing in 6, 7, whatever you're bringing in. But because I'm consistently bringing in six figures every month, would we forego the team approach?
I still think that it needs to be a conversation that needs to be had.
Okay.
If you felt like you wanted to take on more responsibility now that you could with the finances, then fine. But I just think it's a conversation that needs to be had. So that means we live in a place based on his salary when we could live in a better dwelling.
I agree with that because if you pulled your money
Mhm.
together, you would do better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So I was just curious. I thought that was interesting.
Wow.
It is getting, when I say it is getting, the conversation on TikTok is interesting. I'm just going to put it, I'm going to put it that way. I won't read any of the comments, but there's definitely some very interesting comments as it relates to what people do with their finances. Now, here's the thing. Here's what I recommend, and we're reiterating what we said. We recommend that you have a conversation.
Definitely.
You should have a conversation before you get married.
Yep.
And I believe that before you get married, there should be some transparency around your finances.
Yes.
How much debt do you owe?
Yep.
And currently where you are, because obviously where you are when you get married is not where you're going to be down the road, because you might be building your career, right? But where are you financially right now? What's your capacity? And then having the conversation around, how do we do this? Are we going to pool our money together?
Yeah.
What are the bank accounts going to look like? Are we going to have joint accounts? because that's a whole nother topic.
Right.
Should you have joint accounts? Should you have separate accounts? Some people say you should have a joint account for the bills. You should have separate accounts for each other's spending money and that kind of thing, right? So
Mhm.
there's a lot of talk around that. The thing that I am leaving with is that there should be some level of conversation
Mhm.
around it, right? Traditionally, the man, modern driven by other
Means, but
means,
team
but team
effort
effort.
seems most common and conducive these days.
Traditionally, it is the man. Okay. And I could see that. I could see that because if I think back to my father's generation, that he was shouldering a lot of that or
Yeah.
most of it. Um, Here's my thing with the clip that I played. I do not believe that it is man law.
I do not
That is
believe it
very.
is either.
That is a very definitive statement.
Right.
And there's too many nuances
Yeah.
because now what you're essentially telling me is that I'm not a man and I'm not holding up man law if I'm
Mm.
teaming up with my spouse to handle these bills.
Mm.
Whereas I would say you're breaking man law if you ain't contributing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thing. So let us know in the comments what you think about that. The clip says man law, men pay the mortgage. Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? If you're willing to be transparent, what does the financial arrangement look like in your home as well? And forget about the whole masculinity thing. That was nonsense. I'm not even messing with that. But that's how people think, though.
That's how people think. I mean, apparently.
That's how people think. So that's the media mix down. Listen, the end of that is to have a conversation.
Definitely.
Figure out what works for you. Figure out what you can bring to the table. Sit down and if you decide, hey, the dude is gonna handle all of it, then that's what it is, and you're gonna figure that out. So make that happen. All right. You good?
Yep, good.
All right. So let's go into we kind of blazing through this thing today.
Yeah, we are.
That's cool. No worries. We can blaze through it. Let's get into the question of the week. All righty. All right. So the question of the week, and I kind of know where some people in the audience will go with this, but let's go with it anyway. Let's tackle it. The question of the week is: I feel like there is an advantage to living together first before getting married. So I know I lost a whole bunch of people just now, just with that with that first statement. Not so much about sex, but about identifying our compatibility level in other areas. What are your thoughts?
So my thought is that um it's not a good idea
Okay.
to live together before marriage because then well, yeah, I just don't think it's a good idea to do that because what's the point of you getting married, and it's dangerous to act like you're married because that's essentially what you're doing when you're living together first. Um Identifying our compatibility level in other areas.
Yeah, because that's the argument that's going to be thrown back to you, right? How do we establish? How do I know that I can live with you peaceably? That I can live with you financially? That I can live with you relationally outside of sex? Should I know those things before I get married?
This is why you have to be careful who you say you're going to marry because you're not just going to, or you shouldn't just say you're going to marry someone and not seek counsel from God. You need to be, it needs to be confirmed with God that this is the person that you're supposed to be with, obviously. Because then if anything comes up and you feel like you're not compatible afterwards, it's not necessarily that you're not compatible, but it's just that if you have married the person that God has said you should marry, it's just that you're two different people and you need to learn how to work with each other's differences.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay. I'm gonna play devil's advocate in a second, but I get it. This is I know there's a delay probably, so they're seeing this probably a little later than what we're doing it. So, in our home, my husband and I are a team fully in our finances. I make more money than my husband, but when combined, it's not mine or his, it's ours.
And that's 100% how I feel about it as
Okay.
well. Yep.
And that's and listen, ideally that falls under the team approach,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so like that, you have to determine what works for you, because there are definitely families where the husband is shouldering more. There are also families where the wife is shouldering more,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
That speaks to the media mix now, what we're talking about.
I'm from traditional teachings, and although I haven't married yet and have done things traditionally, I'd rather not move in before getting married. The dating process can be transparent enough when more time is spent, but moving in seems so final. I don't agree with that personally, but not completely objective of it for others. I agree with that.
That's an interesting statement that
Mhm.
with time spent, the dating process can be transparent enough where more time is spent.
Yeah. Yep.
I agree with that.
Yep.
Now, so for those of you that are commenting, and for Christian Lynn,
Christian Lynn.
hope I said that right. Please forgive me if I didn't. Um, there's a new name that I recognize. So what you'll find out about me is that I play devil's advocate quite often, and I do it on purpose because I feel like we should be having these conversations. So in the dating process, to use what she said, right? We spend more time.
Mhm.
Is that enough? Is that enough time? And are we learning enough about each other to identify whether we are compatible in all of those areas? Are there some things that we're just not going to know until
Yes.
we get married?
There are some things that we are just not going to know until we get married.
Is that okay?
Yes, I think it's okay if, again, if you are with the person that God has designed for you.
Okay.
If you are with the person that God said that's who you're supposed to marry, then you have to trust that. And then whatever comes up, like, whoa, this, I did not know this about this person,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that I'm supposed to be with this person. So, God, help us figure out how to deal with that.
Okay. So let me ask you this. What about the person who is like, listen, what living together does for me is allow me to really nail down some of these things that I need to nail down as it relates to compatibility, as it relates to having the conversations and all the, whatever the stuff they tell you. And we're not having sex. It's definitive that we're not having sex. What do you say to that person?
Oh, I just still think that it's just a slippery slope. It's too dangerous. Um, I wouldn't advise it.
So, can we call ourselves out for a moment?
Yes.
Because the question says, I feel like there is an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
What you are describing is clearly a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like we suffered? I'm using that word for shock value
Mm-hmm.
because of our choices pre-marriage.
Do I think that we suffered after we got married because
Yes.
of our choices pre-marriage?
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if what we suffered was because of pre-marriage or
Mhm.
not, or if it would have happened anyway.
Okay. So the reason why I asked that and I put us on Front Street is because what do you say to the person who is like, you're saying, Denise, that you think it's a slippery slope and you don't think it's good, but y'all live together and y'all are fine.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you say? Because I don't know.
No. That's on you.
I don't know.
Don't try to put that back on me. Don't try to put that back on me. Okay, I'll tell you what I think. Let's put up Tabby's comment real quick. That's called working and running the risk of never getting paid. Okay. You know what's interesting about that? Here's what's interesting about what Tabby said. I read a statistic earlier that said that more people, there is a larger percentage of people who cohabitate that does not end in marriage. That number is higher now.
Yeah.
The number of people who cohabitate that do not end in marriage is higher.
You know why? Because they say, well, I'm getting everything that I need. That I'm getting everything that I want. So why do I need to? And it gives them an out,
It does give
more
them an
of
out.
an out. It gives them more of an out to be like, well, we ain't married, so I can just leave whenever I want to.
Now, here was another piece of that statistic was saying that more of those folks are having kids, which means they're having sex.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do you say to the cohabiter? Is that the term? That is not having sex. They're living together and they are clearly like, we're getting married. We are not having sex before we get married. Okay. So here are my thoughts. My thoughts are
Professional girlfriends and boyfriends, especially after 7 years. I love that. That
yeah.
is so good.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you, there's a lot of people like that. So I'm not gonna say I've sat with every kind of couple because I haven't, but I've sat with a lot of different kinds of couples. And I sat with a couple for a good period of time that were together for 19 years,
Mm-hmm.
not married.
Yep.
Now that goes back to something we talked about because there was another question, remember, where we like, I think it was a media mixdown where we were talking about um, Reverend Bishop Jones, Noel Jones,
Mm-hmm.
and being with this woman for 27 years and saying, by that time you don't have no reason, especially if you're having sex. There's no reason why you shouldn't be married.
Mm-hmm.
So let me go back to what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is this: eventually, issues will come up. I believe seems like a danger zone. Yeah.
Mm.
So I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah, I agree with that, Christian Lynn.
I agree with that.
Can I just call you Chris? Because I'm not,
You think
or
you think you might be butchering the
if
name?
I'm saying it right, then great. I do agree with that because this thought just came to me.
Mm-hmm.
The longer that you stay living together, not married, I feel like it puts your bishop is out of order on so many levels. Agreed. I think that I think it is a danger zone and issues will come up eventually because I think that one of you
Mm-hmm.
will eventually, well, no, not necessarily. I was going to say that one of you will want to be married, but not say anything and
Mm-hmm.
just be going along with it, but their actions will seem resentful because you're not putting a ring on it type thing.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. You're saying it right. Or you could call her Danny.
Danny, I like that better.
So here's what I think. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that there are very few people who are living together that aren't having sex.
Very few.
Very few.
I agree.
I'm not going to blanketly say that it's everyone because you can't put everybody in that category.
Right.
But I'm saying that because the second sentence says not so much about sex. So here's the thing. If you're having sex, you are immediately complicating things. Period.
Mm.
You can fight me on that all day. But I promise you,
Yeah,
I
agree.
could look at your relationship, and if you give me 3 hours, 1 hour sessions, I promise you I'll pull out what's wrong and why they're complications because you're having sex and before you get married and you're living together. I promise you I can pull them out. So that's the first thing. So you can't tell me not so much about sex because it is about sex. That's number one.
Wow.
Number two, I agree with what Danny said. Finding compatibility in other areas does not require you to live together.
Yeah.
So to answer the first question, no, you feel like there's an advantage. There is not an advantage because everything that you need to find out, you can find out if you're willing to have the right conversations and set up the right experiences.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to know how they are with their family, go to the family reunion. If you want to know how they are with money, then y'all create some experiences where money is involved.
Right.
Where you got to do that. Like there are a lot of things that you can do.
Yeah.
In order to see what your compatibility level is and then have conversations where you see there are gaps.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So no. What are my thoughts? No, there's no advantage to living together. There isn't. So, and I'm transparent with the couples that I sit with. And so for this person, I would say, listen, I did it. And yes, by God's grace, we are still married and it's 21 years,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't recommend it.
Right.
It's like me saying I crashed my car into a brick wall and walked away with a scratch. That don't mean you should go out now and crash your car into a brick wall.
Yeah.
Like that's ridiculous. Don't use that argument
Right.
for, for you to justify what you're doing. Like that, don't do that. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just my thing. That's my thing. JoJo is in the house. What's up, JoJo?
What's up, Joe?
I don't buy it one bit. Living together and refrain from intimacy with each other. Yeah, I listen, I don't buy it either.
Mm.
I'm sure there's probably somebody who can be, I don't know. I'm sure there's somebody who's done it.
I mean, I'm sure there probably is.
But I'm pretty sure that it's very few, right?
Yeah.
So that's our thing. Let us know what you think about that. Is there an advantage to living together? I personally, we would not recommend it. As a dating and engaged couple, if you were to sit with us, we can give you many, many ways that you can begin to craft strategy around compatibility
Mm-hmm.
in all areas. And then if you're really serious about not having sex, we can also give you strategies about how you can work out compatibility in that area without doing it.
Mm.
Because you can.
Yeah.
There are some conversations that need to take place for the people who are experienced and for the people who aren't. So you don't have to live together to do that. You don't have to live together to know what kind of food they like or how they fold their clothes or none of that.
Yeah.
You talk about it.
Right.
You ask some questions.
Yep.
Right. So that's what I think for that. So that is the question of the day today. Please give us your comments. Those of you who might be watching on the replay. Why buy the cow when you're getting the milk for free?
Yep.
That's right. Grandma said it.
Yep.
And we've heard that. All of our grandmothers have said that at one point in time or another. And that is true. Why buy the cow if the milk is free? So give us your comments if you're in there. And listen, if you have some questions you want us to tackle, please email your questions to admin@denali.org. Let us know if you want them to remain anonymous. Honestly, even if you give us your name, we're probably not going to say your name. So I may stop saying let us know if you want it to be anonymous because I don't put nobody's name up anyway. So
this is true.
So email us your questions and we'll get them into one of these episodes on the question of the week segment.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So listen, it's before we get into the meat of what we're going to talk about and our last word to end this out, it is time for a word from our sponsor. Listen, we love our sponsor.
We do love our sponsor.
We love our sponsor. Our sponsor is probably one of our favorite people in the world, right? So we are going to very quickly go to a word from our sponsor. And after we come back from a word from our sponsor, we'll dig into a little bit more relationship talk. All right. All right. That is a word from our sponsor. Listen, we have on a couple of the t-shirts right now.
We do. Great t-shirts.
And I have on one of my favorites, truth be told, which is the 1 + 1 = 1. We call it the marriage math t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And Nisi has on the committed t-shirt. And listen, they're more than just cool t-shirts. They're great t-shirts. I love them. And they are cool t-shirts, but they speak a message. They represent a declaration that we've made and that all who have bought the shirt have made, that they are either committed and they're living out this marriage math as God intended. So listen, if you so choose to be a supporter in that way, you can go to pressandsoul.com/Denali. Grab your shirt today. Listen, if you grab a shirt, take a picture, tag us in it. Let us know that you got the shirt. We'd love to know that you are
We
part
love
of
when
that
happens.
community. All right. So let's go back to where we were. We got some other comments. We got another comment. Joe said, my husband and I literally were inseparable from the day we met. We had enough data while dating and never lived together prior to marriage.
Yeah, it can be done.
It can be done.
It can be done.
It can be done. So listen, we're gonna keep in this conversation mode for this short piece of information we're going to provide, and I want to talk about negotiation.
Negotiation.
I want to talk about negotiation. So, for those of you who may not know what I'm talking about, we often take couples through a conversation exercise where they employ three components.
Mm-hmm.
And those three components are explanation, clarification, and negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
What we see sometimes with couples is that when they get to the negotiation phase, they're negotiating in a way that they're still negotiating in a way that would give them the advantage.
Yes.
Right? You notice that?
Yep.
We'll sit with couples and we get to that phase. We've done well, explanation, clarification. We've gone back and forth through several rounds of that. And we get to the negotiation phase, and all of a sudden, it's not about what I can do for you,
right,
and how I can serve you.
Yeah.
It's how can I negotiate to get what I wanted in the beginning.
To still get what I want.
Right.
Yep.
And I just wanted to say that negotiation is not about that. And we had the privilege of being on the Wake Up Miami morning show this past Friday, and they were talking about that. And what I shared with them was that, listen, things may not end up being equal, as in 50-50.
Right.
But they need to end up being fair.
Fair. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I say all that to say that the statement that I want to leave with you is that fair does not mean equal.
Yep.
Or does not always mean equal.
Right.
Because sometimes fair does mean equal.
Yeah.
It does not always mean equal. So when you are negotiating for the end result that is best for the team.
Yes. Correct.
Best for the team. Not what's best for me.
Right.
Not what's best for you. What's best for us.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if you're negotiating the right way, in a fair way, you're going to think, well, if I ultimately end up getting what I want, that's going to leave my spouse disappointed or feeling like it's unfair. And if you have the team mentality, you're not going to want your spouse to feel disappointed or hurt or upset or whatever other word that your spouse might be feeling. So what you have to go into it thinking when you are trying to negotiate is, how can we both feel like this is good for the team? That's what you got to go into it thinking. Because you should not want your spouse to feel any kind of negative anything at the end of the negotiation. If that happens, then it's not fair.
Exactly. And listen, it's going to take some sacrifice at times.
Yes.
And so there may be some things that I do not get, quote unquote, out of this, but I still walk away because of our interaction and the way that we're negotiating, and we're negotiating with the other person in mind.
Right.
So because we're doing that, and that is our approach, I still walk away with, okay, this is going to be good for the team.
Yeah. Yep.
I had to give a little, maybe you had to give a little, I had to add a little, maybe you had to take away a little, but it was best for the team. and we walk away feeling like the negotiation was a success,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to getting into negotiation and me all of a sudden this selfishness comes back over me.
I see where it can be tricky though,
Mhm.
because if you think about it, if I'm thinking, well, I don't want Ollie to feel any kind of way. So let me put this on the negotiation table so that he doesn't feel any kind of way.
Mhm.
That makes you feel better, right?
Right.
So then I'm kind of like, "Ooh, the team is good." But then if we're both doing it correctly,
Hmm.
then you now should in turn be
Hmm.
like, "Wow, this is great. We're negotiating. This is going to work out good for the team. I know that this is something that Nisi had to sacrifice. So what can I also do to make it fair?"
Yep. And that's good. And here's how you go into that.
Mm-hmm.
I need to come into the let's take it back. So we've both explained our position, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
We've done some clarification, we've done the active listening piece, we've done all of those things that get us to the negotiation point, right? Now, the way that I should now approach you is this. How can I facilitate the needs that you described or whatever it is that we've talked about and clarified?
Mm-hmm.
What do you need from me?
Mm-hmm.
Because now when I say, what do you need from me? I automatically put myself in a position to put the team first.
Right.
And then once I express that and you express it to me, we can go back and forth and talk about our capacity to do it. Because you may tell me what you need, and I might say, listen, okay, I got you in this and this area. In this third thing, I'm not saying I don't want to do it. I just want to make you aware that here are some nuances that could keep me from being consistent.
Right. Yeah.
And then you can negotiate those things, right?
Right. Yep.
And that's what helps you kind of stay
Yeah.
in the right place.
Yeah.
Joe said exactly. It's always about taking a team approach. That's how we operate in my marriage. We team up with chores, taking care of children, finances, etc. We all
That's right.
win
Because it's for the team.
because it's for the team.
Yeah.
So, as it relates to negotiation, do not go into negotiation with the mindset that you are negotiating for your advantage.
That is so good. That is so good because a lot of times I think that in the back of our minds, that's where we have a tendency. We might not go there, but we have a tendency to go there or want
Yep.
to go there.
Yep.
That's really good.
We do. We have a tendency to want to go there, even as productive as the conversation has been up until that point.
Right.
We get into that phase, and automatically it's about, okay, what am I getting out of this?
Right.
So
Very
that is my little spiel for this week's Inside the Relationship. If you want, shameless plug, if you want to learn how we take couples through that, if you want as a couple to be taken through that, you will find at some point in the description of this video, it's not there right now, but a way that you can have a discovery call with us to
Mhm.
get more information about that. I believe if each party have a mindset to serve your spouse more than yourself, absolutely. Service mindset is what it's all about. Yes, I
Yeah.
long for partnership. Looking forward to the day I've attracted that. Healthy
Aw,
negotiation is very important. Yes,
that's
it is.
right. Yeah, you keep getting all of these tips and joining all of these types of forums and live sessions and stuff like that, and you will be so ready.
You'll be ready.
You'll be so ready when God reveals or brings that person to you.
I'm not a prophet, nor do I play one on TV, but your day is coming.
Your day is coming.
I tell, and mostly guys, because it's mostly guys that I'm talking to that are single. Typically, I'm not usually talking to ladies. My wife does that more, but I tell guys this often: you should not demand what you have not first developed.
Mhm.
And so it is important that as a single person, you are learning, you are growing, you
Yeah.
are having these moments of self discovery, you are having these seasons of self development, and you are preparing yourself to be the
Mhm.
best version of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let God do the rest.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let God do the rest.
Mhm.
All right. So that's my little spiel for today. And we are going to, after that now, get into the last word, and then we're going to get out of here. So it is now time. What did I say time for? It's time for
The
the
last
last word.
word.
All right, let's go. What
So
do we
the
got for the
last
last word
word today, can I say where it's coming from?
Absolutely.
The last word today is coming from our journal. It's the oh
No, you're
have
good. Have a
oh
conversation. Yep.
have a conversation. Wait, okay. There we go. Sorry. It's the Have a Conversation couples journal that we created. If you haven't gotten one yet, you should get one because it really does help you with initiating conversations with your spouse. So the last word is from that, and you can get it through us. You can go to our website.
Yep. Denali, it's up on the screen,
Oh, yeah.
denali.org/shop, or you can
Or you
go
can get it
to
from
Amazon
Amazon, Barnes and
or
Noble.
Barnes and Noble.
So here is the last word for today. The difference between a healthy marriage and an unhealthy marriage is not the absence of conflict, it is how you handle and resolve it.
Mm.
The difference between a healthy and unhealthy marriage is not the absence of conflict, it's how you resolve it. There's going to be conflict in your relationship. There is. Just there's going to be conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not trying to make sure that there's no conflict because that's, I would say, almost impossible, probably impossible. It's going to happen. You guys are two different people.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to have conflict, big, maybe, small, maybe. It's just how you handle that conflict, how you navigate through the conflict is what makes the difference between a healthy or unhealthy relationship.
And that listen, you're going to disagree.
Yeah.
If anybody tells you that you're going to get to a place in your life where you never disagree,
Mm-hmm.
I would take issue with that. Now, here's what I will tell you. You will, if you are very intentional about building your relationship, you will get to a point where you disagree less.
Yep. Yep.
But because you're two different people, there is always going to be a chance that you disagree. And what I tell couples is how you can measure the progress that you are making in your relationship is by looking at your recovery time.
Yeah.
So you have an argument, y'all don't speak for a month.
Yeah. Oof.
Okay.
That's a long
A
time.
little bit more on the unhealthy side of the spectrum,
Yeah.
right? Fast forward, you go through, you're building intimacy, you're communicating better without frustration and judgment, you're doing all of these things. Fast forward to the other end of the spectrum, you have an argument, a disagreement, and an hour later, y'all are in bed together.
Right.
Like, wait a minute, what was we fussing about?
Who knows? Who
Because
cares?
it was resolved. You talked through it. You be like, you know what? You apologize. You asked for forgiveness. You sought forgiveness. You went through all of that just like that,
Yeah.
as opposed to taking 4 weeks to do that.
Yeah.
That's when you know
Mm-hmm.
that the health of your relationship has risen to a level that is conducive to the success of your relationship.
Right.
It's not that you didn't have a disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
It's that you had a disagreement. You went through the proper channels as it relates to communication and how you do that. And your recovery time has drastically reduced.
Yes. And we're saying disagreement, not
Mhm.
argument,
Right.
because we
I
don't.
did say argument at first, but yes,
You did
disagreement.
say
I
argument?
did, but
Okay.
I kind of interchanged the words. Yeah,
I think that that's different because I don't feel like you and I
we
argue,
don't. We don't.
but we definitely do disagree
Mhm.
at times. And so there's a difference, I think.
There is a difference.
Between those two things.
There is a
So I
difference.
wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Recovery time is shorter for us. Praise God. That's what's up, Tabby.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's great.
even with the argument, right?
Mhm.
There is a way, again, unhealthy side of the spectrum,
Right.
where you're yelling and cursing
Yeah.
and calling people out their name and doing
Yeah.
all type of stuff, throwing stuff and all this, way on the other side of the
Mhm.
spectrum.
Mhm.
But then you're arguing, and somebody's is presenting their position, and the other person is like, okay, hold on, active listening response. Hold on, before I jump out the window on this, because I feel like you're coming at me kind of reckless. I hear you saying such and such and such and such. I tell couples all the time, forego your knee-jerk reaction,
Yeah.
and in its place, put a active listening response.
Mhm.
I promise you, it will push the conversation forward
Yeah.
as opposed to you being stagnant.
Yeah.
And when you start to see those things happen and your recovery time is getting less and less and less and less, then you see some growth in your relationship. So thank you for sharing that last word.
Mm-hmm.
That is that is a good last word. I think that's a great place to leave it. So we're going to get out of here. Listen, we love y'all. We thank you so much for taking time out to hang out with us. There are some more ways that you'll be able to hang out with us soon. I'm doing something, I don't know, soon for entrepreneurs on LinkedIn, and maybe I'll do it on Facebook. I mean, on YouTube as well. For those of you who are in our Facebook family, we love you, and you can continue to be in our Facebook family. We urge you to come over to youtube.com/Denali LLC and subscribe over there
Mm-hmm.
and hit the bell over there. We are trying to grow that YouTube community.
Yeah.
That is a way, honestly, the t-shirts are a way that you can support us from a financial standpoint. YouTube is a way you can support us without giving a dime, because once we grow that community, there are some things that we'll be able to do as a result of growing that community. So make sure, please, if you haven't already, to go ahead over there and to subscribe there. Tabby said, great topics. Thank you so much. Thank
Thanks,
you to
Tabby.
everybody that was in the comments. We had some new names that we hadn't seen before, and I didn't welcome them. Sonia, I think I saw earlier, and Danny, thank you so much for your involvement in this conversation. We don't take it lightly that you have spent some time with us
Yeah.
and hung out with us on your Sunday evening. So thank you for that. Listen, we're going to get out of here. Two things we're going to say to you before we get out of here. The first thing is this: be intentional about creating an experience that will help to grow your intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing is this: until your 1 + 1 is 1,
You're never done.
we'll see you in the next video.
Good night, everyone.
Blessings, everybody.
Have a great week.